The sound of glass shattering against the wall made 5-year-old Emma flinch behind her bedroom door. Her tiny fingers gripped her teddy bear tighter as another crash echoed through their small apartment. Through the crack in the door, she could see her father, Marcus, slumped against the kitchen counter, surrounded by broken dishes and empty bottles. His shoulders shook with silent sobs as he clutched a framed photo of her mother. This isn't just another sad story. This is where it begins, rock bottom. But if you stay with me until the end, you'll witness one of the most remarkable transformations a human being can make. If this journey resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that remind us of the extraordinary resilience within ordinary people. Marcus hadn't always been this way. Before cancer took his wife Sophia just 8 months ago, he had been the embodiment of stability, a loving husband, a devoted father, a respected construction foreman. Now he was barely a shadow of that man, drowning his grief in alcohol, calling in sick to work more often than not, and worst of all, becoming increasingly distant from the daughter who needed him most. That night, as Emma's small voice called out, "Daddy," from the hallway, something inside Marcus finally broke open. The sight of his daughter, Sophia's daughter, standing there in her faded princess pajamas, eyes wide with fear and confusion, became the mirror he couldn't look away from. He saw himself through her eyes, not as the protector he'd promised to be, but as something frightening and unpredictable. "I'm sorry, baby," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I'm so sorry." Emma approached cautiously, the way one might approach a wounded animal. When she reached him, she placed her small hand on his stubbled cheek. "Mommy wouldn't like this," she said simply. The truth in those 4 words cut through months of self-pity and despair. Marcus gathered his daughter in his arms and made a silent promise, to Sophia, to Emma, to himself, that tomorrow would be different. Morning came with the harsh light of reality. Their apartment was a disaster, reflecting the chaos of Marcus's inner world. Bills were piled high on the counter, many stamped with final notices. His phone showed 17 missed calls from his boss. Emma's lunchbox was empty, and so was the refrigerator. Marcus stood in the shower, letting scalding water wash over him as he faced the brutal truth: he was failing at the one job that mattered most, being Emma's father. The realization was both devastating and clarifying. He couldn't bring Sophia back, but he could honor her by being the father she'd believed he could be. That day, Marcus made 3 phone calls that would change the trajectory of their lives. The first was to his boss, humbly asking for one last chance. The second was to his sister-in-law, Claire, asking if she could watch Emma for a few days while he got himself together. The third was to a grief counseling center that offered a support group for single parents. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted to the counselor on the phone, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to be both parents." "You don't have to be both parents," the gentle voice replied. "You just have to be the best version of yourself for your daughter." The next few weeks were the hardest of Marcus's life, harder even than watching Sophia slip away. Sobriety felt like walking with an open wound. Every emotion he'd been numbing crashed over him in waves: grief, anger, fear, guilt. He returned to work, his hands blistered and aching after weeks of inactivity. He attended support group meetings where he sat silently at first, listening to other single parents share stories that mirrored his own. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to shift. He started a journal, writing letters to Sophia that he would never send but somehow felt she might read. He created a budget and stuck to it religiously. He learned to cook simple meals that Emma would eat without complaint. Most importantly, he began to talk, really talk, with his daughter about her mother, about their grief, about their future. "Do you think Mommy can see us?" Emma asked one night as Marcus tucked her into bed. Marcus paused, considering his answer carefully. "I think she can," he said finally. "And I think she's proud of how brave you've been." Emma's small face grew serious. "Is she proud of you too, Daddy?" The question pierced him. "I'm trying to make her proud," he answered honestly. "I haven't done a very good job, but I'm trying now." Emma nodded, satisfied with his answer. "I'll help you," she promised, and Marcus felt something warm unfurl in his chest for the first time in months. 6 months after that night in the kitchen, Marcus stood in the doorway of their new apartment, smaller and less expensive than their previous one, but clean and bright with a park nearby. He had been promoted at work, not back to foreman yet, but his boss had noticed his renewed dedication. The refrigerator was stocked, Emma's school reports showed improvement, and they had started a tradition of Adventure Saturdays, where they explored their city together. It wasn't perfect. Marcus still had nights when grief ambushed him, leaving him gasping for breath. Emma still had moments when only her mother would do, and Marcus had to hold her while she cried for someone he couldn't bring back. But they were moving forward together, one day at a time. The turning point came unexpectedly, at one of Marcus's support group meetings. After months of mostly listening, he found himself sharing the story of that night in the kitchen, the night he'd hit bottom and found the courage to look up. "I realized I had a choice," he told the group, his voice steady now. "I could stay broken, or I could gather the pieces and build something new. Not the same as before, nothing will ever be the same without her, but something strong enough to shelter my daughter." After the meeting, a woman approached him. Her name was Diane, and she ran a non-profit that helped single parents find resources for education and career advancement. "Have you ever thought about starting your own business?" she asked. "With your construction background, you have valuable skills." Marcus laughed dismissively. "I barely have time to do laundry. How would I run a business?" Diane handed him a brochure. "Just come to one workshop. See what's possible." That workshop became a turning point. Marcus discovered programs designed specifically for single parents, flexible classes, small business grants, mentorship opportunities. With Diane's encouragement, he enrolled in night classes on business management while continuing his day job. A year later, Marcus launched his own small contracting company, specializing in affordable renovations for single-parent homes. He named it Phoenix Construction, a symbol of rising from the ashes. His first client was a young mother whose kitchen had been damaged in a fire, and who couldn't afford the insurance deductible. "I can work with what you have," Marcus promised her. "And we can set up a payment plan that works for your budget." The gratitude in her eyes reminded him of how far he'd come from his own darkest days. As his business grew, he made it a point to hire other single parents, creating flexible schedules that accommodated school pickups and sick children. Emma, now 8, became the unofficial mascot of Phoenix Construction. She proudly wore a custom-made hard hat when she visited job sites with her father on weekends, charming clients and crew alike with her detailed explanations of the renovation process. "My daddy fixes broken houses," she told anyone who would listen. "He's really good at fixing broken things." 3 years after Sophia's death, Marcus stood in the backyard of their new home, a modest fixer-upper that he'd renovated himself, with Emma's supervision. They were hosting a barbecue for friends, family, and some of the families Marcus had helped through his business. Claire was there with her husband and children. So was Diane, who had become a close friend and mentor. Members of Marcus's support group mingled with his employees and clients. As Marcus watched Emma playing tag with the other children, her laughter carrying across the yard, he felt Sophia's presence more strongly than he had in years. Not as a ghost or a memory, but as a foundation, the love they had shared had become the bedrock upon which he had rebuilt their lives. Later that evening, after the guests had gone and Emma was asleep, Marcus sat on the back porch with a cup of coffee. He pulled out the journal he still kept, though the entries were less frequent now. "Dear Sophia," he wrote. "Today I realized something important. For so long, I thought I was learning to live without you. But that's not what happened at all. I've been learning to live with you differently, to carry you with me in everything I do, in every decision I make, in the way I raise our daughter. You're still here, guiding us both. And somehow, that makes the journey possible." 5 years after that night in the kitchen, Phoenix Construction had grown into a successful business with a mission that went beyond profit. Marcus had established a foundation in Sophia's name that provided emergency home repairs for families in crisis. He had become an advocate for single parents in his community, speaking openly about his own journey from grief to purpose. Emma, now 10, was thriving. She had her mother's artistic talent and her father's determination. She had started a club at school for children who had lost parents, creating a safe space for them to share their feelings and support each other. "How did you know what to say to them?" Marcus asked her after she told him about the club's first meeting. Emma shrugged. "I just remembered what you told me. That it's okay to be sad sometimes, but we don't have to be sad forever. And that the people we love are never really gone if we keep them in our hearts." Marcus pulled her into a hug, marveling at her wisdom and resilience. "When did you get so smart?" he asked. "I learned from you, Daddy," she replied simply. On the 7th anniversary of Sophia's death, Marcus and Emma didn't stay home to mourn. Instead, they volunteered at the cancer ward where Sophia had spent her final months. They brought art supplies and helped patients create memory books for their families. Marcus watched as Emma sat beside a young mother, showing her how to press flower petals between pages to preserve them. "My mom loved flowers," Emma explained. "Dad planted a garden for her at our house. Every spring when they bloom, it's like getting a message from her." The woman smiled through her tears. "What does the message say?" Emma thought for a moment. "It says, keep growing." That night, as they drove home, Marcus reached over and squeezed his daughter's hand. "Your mom would be so proud of you," he said. Emma squeezed back. "She'd be proud of both of us, Dad. We did what she asked us to do." Marcus glanced at her, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "Remember what she told us before she went to heaven? She said, take care of each other, and find joy again. We did that, didn't we?" Marcus felt tears prick his eyes as he nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. We did that." 10 years after hitting rock bottom, Marcus stood backstage at a TEDx event, nervously adjusting his tie. Emma, now 15 and nearly as tall as her father, straightened it for him. "You've got this, Dad," she assured him. "Just tell our story like you're telling me." Marcus nodded, taking a deep breath. When his name was called, he walked onto the stage and faced the audience. 10 years ago, he began, I was a broken man holding a broken glass in a broken home. He paused, letting the image sink in. Today, I'm here to talk about how we rebuild, not just houses, but lives. How we take the fragments of what's been shattered and create something new, something that honors what was lost while embracing what can still be. As he shared their journey, the rock bottom moment, the small steps forward, the setbacks and breakthroughs, the community that had formed around them, Marcus could feel Sophia's presence, not as a weight of grief but as a gentle hand guiding him forward. He concluded his talk by inviting Emma to join him on stage. Together, they unveiled the logo for the Sophia Foundation's newest initiative, a housing program for single-parent families facing medical crises. "Pain isn't something we overcome," Marcus told the audience as the applause died down. "It's something we learn to carry differently. And sometimes, if we're brave enough to keep moving forward, that pain becomes power, the power to understand others, to create change, to build something meaningful from what remains." As father and daughter stood side by side, the standing ovation washing over them, Marcus knew they had come full circle. The journey from pain to power wasn't a straight line, and it wasn't finished. There would always be hard days, moments when Sophia's absence felt unbearable. But they had learned to weave their grief into the fabric of their lives, transforming it from a weight that crushed them into a foundation that supported them. If you've stayed with this story until now, perhaps you've recognized pieces of your own journey in Marcus and Emma's. Perhaps you too are finding your way from pain to power, learning to transform what hurts into what heals. If so, I hope their story reminds you that you're not alone, and that even the darkest moments can lead to unexpected light. If this story touched you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more narratives that explore the depth and resilience of the human spirit. Remember Marcus's words, Sometimes our deepest pain becomes our greatest power, not despite our wounds, but because of how we learn to carry them.